for those that are listening this morning, this is Joanie's News You Can Use. And today we're going to be talking with Rachel Oslund. I've known Rachel a long, long time, somewhere around 2000. I don't know when it is. Let's not even talk about age and time. But anyway, Rachel is with us this morning, and we're going to bring you some really good information all about the home inspection, because now they're back in style. There for a while, they were not. And today we're going to go through the importance. We have some good questions and topics: the importance of a home inspection, how to handle deficiencies, the role of the real estate agents, additional inspections. We have a whole bunch of good stuff that we're going to talk about. But at this point, I'm going to go ahead and tell you a little bit about Rachel. Rachel Oslund owns Lodestar Inspections. And I met Rachel years ago when my husband was also doing inspections, and we hit it off, and she's been great and always there for real estate agents. Always. You can always call Rachel. She's always got answers. She's been doing this a long, long time. When she started as a certified master inspector back in 2006, she started working out with her dad, or started working with her father, and then she started her own company in 2018. She was also Governor Moore's appointee to the Commission for Home Inspectors and Appraisers. She has served on the board of directors for Howard County Association. She chaired and served on multiple committees at Carroll County Association, Howard, Greater Baltimore, and Anne Arundel County, and as well as Maryland Realtors. She serves on the board of directors for HCAR, Howard County Association of Realtors, CARES, and she's the treasurer and founding member of the Maryland Hispanic Real Estate Association. If I have forgotten anything, Rachel, please go ahead and add, because you really, really impress. You impress me in every way, shape, and form, and I'm excited to have you. So I'm going to let you take over from there. How's that?
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, the only one that I would add that's important to pop in there is that I'm on the board of directors for the Baltimore chapter of NAREB, which is the National Association of Real Estate Brokers,
Very good.
is important to plug them too, because most people aren't familiar with them either. So
right. No,
yeah.
You're right. And I
But
did.
wow, you made me sound really amazing. So thank you.
You are. You are. It's always nice to hear someone else talk and say these things, because you're like, wow, I didn't realize I did that. Are you sure? Are you sure?
Exactly. Yes. Thank you.
Well, I wanted you to go ahead and give me a little bit of information about your company and how you run your company before we get into the first question, which is the importance of home inspection. So tell me a little bit about your company and how you hire your staff, and the credentials that you look for, because this is important. I don't think real estate agents understand, and as well as buyers, because buyers sometimes, you wonder where they're coming from on this, and they ask me questions. How do I know I'm going to get a good inspector? So I'm going to let you elaborate on what it is that you look for in your staff and how you hire your staff.
Well, thank you, Joanie. It is a challenge to find, as you know, because you have a background in inspections on top of being an agent. But one of the biggest things to be a home inspector, I mean, it's easy, relatively easy to learn all about the parts of a house, the systems of a house, just like you learned about dual agency and all of the other things that go with what you do. It's relatively easy to develop that information and learn about houses. What is a challenge is delivering the information about what you found in a house without having your own opinions come into play about it, about what you like or don't like, or what you would tolerate or someone else would. And so when I'm hiring somebody, it's like, do they have, first of basic, do they have the skills? Do they understand houses and how they work? And does it make sense? Oh, wait, first I talk to them on the phone. And if they don't talk down to me and they don't try and explain things to me in a way that, like, I don't like the phrase mansplain, but you know what I like, there's this, she's a woman and I'm going to talk like that. Well, if you do that, then we just don't have another conversation. I don't even go further to interview you. And it doesn't happen very often, but it does, because there's a lot of ego involved in the home inspection world. Anyway, going on, So then I'm talking to them and they've got this understanding of the house and I know that. But then how do they communicate? Can they type? Are they able to overcome all their fears of height and small spaces, um, and heat and critters and all of that stuff? Can they communicate effectively, verbally and in writing? Can they present themselves nicely, and can they communicate information in an objective way, while keeping a poker face but being friendly and professional, without tracking dirt on the floor and making sure that they clean up insulation out of closets? So like all of that, that's it. And then constant training. So I've got to, everyone that I work with has to be committed to constantly evolving and learning more and more. So every Thursday morning we have a team meeting if we need to. If there's nothing to talk about, we don't. But if someone's had a question in our group chat over the week, I saw this weird thing, someone will take it upon themselves to research it, and then we have a call and that person explains it, and then we all kind of explain it back. But it's a way to get like, make sure that everyone's clear on things. And it's important because if you understand it enough, then you get what's missing or a problem and that everything can be fixed.
Right.
It was a long answer.
No, it was good information because I don't think people think about that. Agents or again, buyers do, but
Mhm.
it's good information. I want everybody to see the total you and your
Thank
company
you.
because, I mean, you provide such value. So we're going to move on. And I'm going to ask you, from your experience, why is the home inspection such a crucial part of the home buying process? And what are some of the common misconceptions buyers have about inspections?
It's so important because I think in the olden days, if you were buying a house, you would have a family member or a friend who would be able to walk you through the house, who had some experience in construction or in the trades, and maybe educate you. Ah, this seems good. Oh, I wonder what this is, whatever. That has shifted over the last 50 years of people moving around all the time and not necessarily having close knit friends and family to be able to help with that. And so you've got to have someone else's eyeballs who has no financial relationship to the whole thing, who can give you some insights, some objective points of view. When I had my home inspection on the house that I bought in 2014, my home inspector did it. And one of my inspectors, Matt, and he came through and he's like, Rachel, your roof is leaking and the crawl space is leaking, and so is the second crawl space. Well, none of that scared me because I kind of knew what was happening and why it was happening and all those things. But I could have easily just overlooked all of that if I had never bought a house before, didn't know what I was looking at, and just been like, this is terrible. I don't want this house. Or, oh, it's fine. It'll be fine. So those are the real things. And the home inspector's not there to tell you every single thing that's wrong with the house. We're there to point out the big things that are going to cost a lot of money to fix right away, or that are not working the way they're supposed to. And
Hmm.
that's something that a lot of people don't expect. They're kind of expecting every little thing, but we're only there 3 hours. So like, you spend your second night there and you're lying in bed and staring at the ceiling, and you've been there for like 4 hours looking at the ceiling, and you notice a stain on the ceiling. Well, you were staring at it for 4 hours. It took you to find it. I was there 3 hours and did the whole house. So we're trying to give you as much information as possible.
Right. And that is very true. When an inspector points out a deficiency in a home, it can be so stressful for buyers. How do you suggest that we as realtors help our clients stay calm, focused during that part of the process?
You've got to help them stay calm and focused and really committed to their goals. And it's interesting because that is what came up on an inspection that we did for you recently. That when I was there talking to the seller about the radon testing, he was just like, Joni was just so professional and relaxed about this. Like she was just explaining, there's a crack in the window. This is what happens. You fix it. Here's how. And it's reminding people of their commitment and bringing everything back to their commitment, and reminding them that there's no such thing as a perfect house. It's
True.
not a, it's not a code inspection. It's not going to pass or fail. This is just information about this house that you've fallen in love with and want to buy. Now you get to decide how you want to move forward, but you being objective about it and just like solutions oriented, and you staying focused on their commitment as the agent is so huge, because it's so easy to lose track with lenders asking for more documentation and all the other things that go with buying a house that can be so overwhelming, that you as the agent being the voice of calm and reason and reminder of commitment, reminder of commitment. Yeah.
True. True. So let me ask you this, because I've been on inspections where the agents don't go, buyers don't go. What is your take on, do you think that the buyer's agent should be present during the time of the home inspection? And what are the benefits when they are there?
I like having the agent there. I like the buyer's agent. I like being there for about an hour before the buyer is there. And so that I can get to know the house. Because when we arrive at the house, if we get there and go in at the same time as the buyer for the inspection, the buyer has been there before. The buyer knows more about the house than we do. All we've done is looked at the listing and looked at the outside, maybe droned the roof or gotten on the roof, who knows? But we need a little time where the house is quiet and we can just listen and get to know the house. And having the agent there is really useful because you can give perspective on things that you've seen, what's the norm in the industry. Now, because I've done so much volunteering, have a different understanding of some of the scope of what buyers are dealing with and sellers. But most of the time, you as the agent are going to, 99% of the time, you've got to be there to rein people in when they start to freak out about something, or and freak out is probably too strong a word, but get really uncomfortable and stressed about it. If you are there to rein them in and give them perspective, then that's great. Also explain something. So part of the other thing about my inspectors is they have to be able to explain things in normal language and connect them to a buyer's world. So we ask, what do you do for a living, so that we can get a sense. Oh, you do IT. Okay, so this connects like this, to try and make some connections, because
Right.
you've got to understand it. Well, you as the agent have this relationship with the buyer. You can make those connections more easily and quickly, and facilitate that and smooth things over as they go. If there are questions or uncertainties on the buyer's behalf, is the seller has to fix that, right? And you can go, remember the contract. The seller
Right.
doesn't have to do anything, and it's not passing or failing. Let's just get the information. Like, you are that everything.
Thank you. And I am one who loves to be at an inspection because I need to know how it's being said, what's being said. I also, and I don't know how you feel about this, but when I put someone under contract, and on the rare occasion in Maryland, when they do complete the whole disclosure process, because most don't,
Mhm.
but when they do, and there's issues that are noted, I make sure I bring that with me and give that to the inspector, just like I do an appraiser. If I meet the appraiser with all kinds of information. So I feel the same about the inspector, because if there was an issue previous that the seller has disclosed, let's say they did an addition and it leaked. It
Mhm.
is so nice that I can bring that up to the inspector and say, hey, look, this is fixed, but I just want to bring this to your attention. Or if there was a huge insurance claim, I can say, hey, there was an insurance claim. Let's take a closer look at whatever it would be. So I
That's
think that's,
great.
yeah.
Yes, I love that. Yes, not many people do that.
Okay. Okay. Well, agents, hear them out, because it is important what we can do to help. It's a team effort. We've all
Right.
got to work together. It's all about how we work together to get to the end. That's really what it is. How do you feel when a seller is present?
So there are different ways. I feel different ways. It depends on the person and their personality. And so I would say it can be really uncomfortable for the seller to be there as we're going through the house, because I'm trying to stay as
I know.
neutral as, but I can't. But what I want to say is, when the seller's there and can give us information that we wouldn't be able to find quickly or easily on our own, that's fantastic. I love it. And here's how you open this access to the attic that we have hidden behind this grand photo in the living room. Who knows? But all of that is fantastic. But a lot of times the seller can put their foot in their mouth
Hmm.
and talk about things that they shouldn't be saying, that gives us information as inspectors that has us question whether permits were pulled or whether licensed contractors did work. And then we, as working for the buyers, need to share that information. Like, we've got to tell the buyers what we're getting from what this person is saying.
Right,
So I think it's a liability a lot of times when the seller is there, if they're there for the whole time.
right.
I've also seen some sellers just be there, and it's like I don't know, all I can do is, it's like a visit to the OBGYN for like, it's I don't know how else to put it,
It's
because
true.
she's like watching us go through everything, looking under the sink, running the water, opening and closing everything. And it's very private, and it can, and intimate, and it can be make you feel really vulnerable.
Right. I,
So I don't think people should be there simply because it's just so uncomfortable. But at least for part of it, to get, give a little bit of information is good.
right,
Otherwise, and the listing agent, same thing. I think the listing agent can be there to watch the property and make sure everything's okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And you want to give the buyers the freedom to speak and say what they need to speak and ask questions without feeling like they're going to offend somebody.
right. And I appreciate that. And I brought that up because that's something else that is brought to the attention, buyers, sellers, and so this is good information just to put out there. How listing agents handle it, everybody, and how sellers and buyers all work this out. It's always driven by your client. But I will say, as a listing agent, I highly recommend that the seller not be there. But I also recommend that they're on guard, because I want to be able to have a communication, because I'm not usually there. There are times when I'm there, but if I can, I'll stop by just to see if there's any questions. I try to gauge it till the end, because that way, if there's anything that's worrisome to the buyer's agent or to the buyer, I want to nip it. I want to make sure we get an answer right away.
Mhm.
So that's typically what I would do, as I would say, be on guard, because if there's anything that comes up, I want to be able to call you. And
Yeah.
it does work really well. Again, it's teamwork. So that's how I would approach it as well. So
I love that. I love it when the listing agent stops by and just says, any questions, anything you want me to just call or text. The sellers are on call right now. You want me to text them with a question or call them? Like, that's really powerful.
yeah. And there's always things like, my biggest one is light switches. Where do the light switches go? No one
Oh
knows.
my gosh.
Yeah,
Yes.
everybody. So it's nice to be able to say, here's what this light switch does. Seller
Yes.
says this. And so that's why I feel like it's calming for everybody. And you're right. That seller that was there the other day, the agent told him not to be there, but he was, and he was sweet. And I was okay. I helped get through that. I tried to divert him while the whole thing was going on. So it worked out, but I totally get that part.
But there's also
What
a connection to the house I mean, when you're seller, if you've been there 30 years, you've got a different level. And I mean, it's hard. It's an emotional thing too.
right. It is.
So it is, every single person is a little bit different. So every situation has to be different, and you've got to be able to be fluid to empower throughout each of those.
So true. So true. When it comes to the home inspection, and let's just say that I don't know, something comes up when roofing, an electrician. how do you and I know that the home inspectors, they're not necessarily licensed in any one field. Let's say it's a roof issue, your inspector's up on the roof and he sees something. The boot's always got a problem, whether it's
Yes.
new or old. You've seen them all the time. um at that point, does it make sense for a recommendation to the buyer? Because I always put, agents will have like all the time frames for inspections, and then they'll put any others recommended by inspector. So are there times that it makes sense to do that? So would it make sense to have a roofing company come in and take a quick look just to certify? Or sometimes is that left up to the seller? Do you have any input on that?
I like the thought of a buyer having someone come out on their own because they don't have a financial interest in what the professional says. And so, and I also think if there's some reason that there's no access to something, or that there's a problem that is likely going to need to be fixed, and that's going to be part of it, then having the seller do it would make sense. But now we're outside of the home inspector's scope.
Right.
But because it's a challenge. But the main thing that a lot of buyers need to know is that we are not the specialists. The home inspectors, it's like you said, even if we at one point held a license in some other trade, the main thing is we're like the primary care physician. We come in and we say, okay, here's how things are. Maybe your heart sounds a little funny. I want you to see a cardiologist. So, and the cardiologist says, oh no, it does sound funny, but it's within the realm of normal. It's fine. Away you go. Well, that's great. The cardiologist trumps the home inspector because the primary care physician. I'm mixing my metaphors here.
I
The
love that though. You're right.
but then the home inspector says, hey, there's something going on with this roof. It looks a little weird. And that's not how we'd say it, but there's something going on. I'd like to have someone else come and look at it because it looks like it's leaking, but it's been dry for 6 weeks. I can't tell. And then they send someone out and they say, oh no, it's fine. This is whatever. That's good. Get a plumber, electrician, roofer out.
Love it.
And a home inspection could be like, you could skip the home inspection and individually just hire a contractor for a couple $100, a plumber for a couple $100, an electrician for a couple $100, structural engineer for $1,000. And you could get all of those people and bring them in. And it's labor and cost intensive and time intensive to do that. So having us come in and you spend under $1,000 to have us come in and give some sense of what's there. And then if you need to spend more money for other experts, then do that. But it's like, this is the easiest, most concise way to get this done in a tight time frame,
Right. No, very good information. I love that. How about additional inspections? Are there any other additional inspections that you tend to recommend other than the home inspection or in addition to the home inspection? Is that an easy question to answer, I guess, but it's something else that buyers ask me all that, what should I have done? Like, and I know things depend on well, septic and all that, but is there anything that you can think of based on your experience that you would recommend for agents to recommend to their buyers?
I would say radon, termite, and maybe an advanced structural assessment. You want to make sure that whatever way your dirty water is leaving your house is in good condition.
Okay.
So if that's your septic system or a sewer line, so a sewer scope or septic inspection. Radon is something that a lot of people think they don't need to test for if they've got different, I don't know, without a basement or with a basement or walkout or whatever. And it's a colorless, odorless, tasteless gas, but it's the leading cause of lung cancer death among non-smokers. And it's a 2-day test and you just leave it in the house. And
Yep.
so that is one that the EPA and the Surgeon General say every house should have. And I am a firm believer in that. And the other, because it's so simple to fix when, and that's, you can go to my website and watch a class on how all of that, if you want more info, or EPA.gov has a ton of info. But the other one would be termite, or otherwise known in Maryland as a WDI, wood destroying insect inspection. That's
Right.
another, that's a good one because that's carpenter bees and beetles and termites and all those things. And then the structural one is an interesting thing because most people aren't thinking about the structure as much. Like they're going in, the floors are a little crooked. I have a marble, let me roll it, whatever. It's still very subjective.
Right.
And so what having someone go in and just give you peace of mind about the structure is huge because structures can require maintenance too, just like your furnace and a water heater or chimney, fireplace, all of those things. But most people just don't think about the structure. And so that's something that is a really great way to give peace of mind just easily, you know?
Good. Yep. Those are really, really good. Um, that's great recommendations. The only other one that I can think of that I have recommended, if I have somebody who is on city water,
Mhm.
sewer, if or mainly sewer, if the house is older than, if it's like in the 50s, 60s,
Mhm.
I try to get the scope inspection from the house to the main line, because at some point they collapse. Am I
Yes,
right on that?
you are.
And so
Yes.
not knowing when that last, if it was repaired or corrected, that can be very costly, and that is an owner's issue. So I do know that, and I have really pushed that inspection more than anything on somebody who has city sewer.
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't make it clear. That is the line for getting all your dirty water and stuff out of your house.
Right.
And if you've even in it's interesting because I know some builders who have people do they get sewer scopes of all their properties because they never know on new construction, and this happens a lot on flips too, if the workers have flushed concrete down the drains or rinsed off their paintbrushes or drywall dust and stuff down those drains, you don't know where the blockage is. And if if anyone has driven a truck onto the property, a heavy truck, and it may have driven over or parked on that sewer line coming from the house to the street, and that can create a crack. And then whatever is in the yard, if it's just grass, if it's tree roots, whatever, they will grow in there to get to that nutrient rich liquid. Like, I mean, you use manure, farmers use manure to fertilize a field. That's what these plants want is the nutrients and that stuff coming out through that pipe. And but most people aren't thinking about like a truck driving over it.
Right.
That's, and so 1950s house, yes. 1980s house, yes. 2000 house, yes.
Okay.
2024 house, probably. But
Okay.
and that's a super simple one too. That's yeah. But I love that you brought that out. Yes, or brought that up because big time. Otherwise, you have a sewage mess in your basement.
Mm-hmm. And I've seen that happen. So
Mhm.
again, this is all information. I sell and list. And so I'm trying to think of the things as you are to help buyers and sellers and agents. I mean, that's what we're doing. The
Yeah, I
experience.
mean, you're asking all these questions. I'm like, I'm trying to think of something to even ask you, and you're like coming at me with these perfect, like almost like you prepared for this. Like,
I did.
but
Yes, a little bit. So yep. Every
I
now
mean,
and
it's
again.
and almost like you've been doing this for. I mean, when did you start in real estate?
I started in 2003.
Okay.
Oh,
And
yep.
when I think we met in 2006.
Yes.
So, I mean, you've been doing it long enough to experience different, all the different cycles of real estate, buyer's market, seller's market, short sale market,
Oh,
um,
yeah.
REO market. And then now you've got, as we're working almost toward a more balanced market, it's the balancing of what people need, what's going to give them peace of mind, what their budget is right now, how they're
Right.
going to feel about, I mean, financially, time wise. What okay, one question for you, and I know we're almost done here, but
That's okay.
people, I'm getting these people with a 3-day contingencies. What is going on? Oh my gosh.
Well,
Like I can't manufacture home inspectors.
I'm not really sure why it's 3 days, but the only thing I can think of is that agents are using that as an incentive to the seller, knowing that they're going to ask for it quicker than sooner than later. when I do something that way, I try to get the buyer to schedule it before, or see if that time slot is available before actually putting that in a contract. So that's all I can think of is, we were doing them without inspections, and it isn't recommended, and some loans require it. So I'm thinking that that time frame is really because of the urgency and
That
trying to get their deal accepted.
that
Hmm.
was what I was thinking too. And then people are trying to get it done in just a few days and are then having to just scramble,
Right.
but it got them the contract, which is what they wanted. So, and I will tell you, we do get a lot of calls from people. Can we set something up? We're going to make an offer on a property tomorrow. Can we set this up for the next day? And then, reschedule or cancel if they don't get it. But that, I
Right.
think it is a negotiating tactic that I think buyers should be aware of, that that's what's there. So when they
Right.
find that house, it's like, be on your toes and be ready.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree with that. So I'm thinking that's what they do. Um, some of these questions, boy, we've really gone through and answered a lot of them. Let me see. Is there anything that you can think of? I know that your approach is educational.
Mhm.
Um, and I know you do a lot of continuing ed for real estate agents, and um, that helps the delivery of, I think, the expectation with your inspectors. I noticed that there's a lot of education expressed through their inspection process, which I love that, because it's definitely calming. And when you're working with a first time home buyer or even an experienced buyer, that makes a big difference when it's approached as an educational piece, not as a, I don't know how to explain it other than just like, hey, this is, you might want to look at this, because, the education of it. Hey, typically after 10 years, it's just really good information that you guys present. But is there anything else that you wanted to add to that? Your education, the philosophy, is there anything that we didn't hit on? Because I've asked a lot of my questions to you.
You're very efficient, and you've done very well. This is great. It's like you're a natural. Um, uh, um, the education part is the big deal, and what's required in a home inspection is to say what was inspected and how it was inspected, and then if there's something wrong with it. And what we're trying to do is also give people a picture of the house so that when they leave, they can remember what it looks like.
Right.
So it's because of course we've been to houses where the seller has like replaced the refrigerator with a different refrigerator, or so we put a picture of the refrigerator in there, and some of the stuff came over COVID where we added other pictures from in the attic and on the roof and in the refrigerator, just so people could get a sense of what they were getting, because they couldn't be there for the inspection. And of course that is how it goes when we do inspections for people long distance, because we do a
Right.
lot work with a lot of people moving here from overseas. And so that's an important thing. It's
Okay.
And then we write everything in a way. So I chose this software. It's super expensive, but I chose it because it has a special tool in it. It's called the Repair Request Writer, and it's so that you can write your PIN really, really fast. And lots of other inspectors offer this, but they don't write the way we do. So we write starting everything with a verb to empower people. So it's not like the toilet was leaking. I recommend you get a plumber to make sure that the blah, blah, blah. What we write is engage licensed plumber to
Okay.
eliminate leak under toilet to reduce potential for further damages.
Yeah.
Bam. So then you can copy and paste, and you can use our report writer and just bam, do your PIN in a second. And that has been really helpful for new agents, and then agents who are trying to have their assistants handle all of that, that they
Right.
don't have to explain it and talk through it and figure out how to word things.
Wow.
And I would also say that if you don't want the education piece on the inspection, like a lot of people who are buying, if it's their fifth house, or they're at $1 million or $2 million and they just don't want that, that's fine. But it's there in the report. And if they want to be talked through it, then we're available.
Very
So
good.
we're very much tailor it to the buyers.
Very good. I noticed that in my last couple inspections with you. I love it because it's easy to read and it's easier to translate onto the inspection request, which is the PIN.
Awesome.
Sorry for anybody
Awesome.
who doesn't know that. But
Yes, thank you.
and then I didn't realize that you give classes on your Facebook page. I never knew that till you said that to me. So how do we find that? How does an agent or even a buyer, are they able to go in there and to take a look at what you offer?
Yes, go to my Facebook page or just go to our website, lodestarinspections.com. And there is a link under there for agents and a link under there for buyers. It's the same link, I'll tell you right now. It's the same link. But that's every other Tuesday morning I do a class, and it's just about this. Last week was chimneys. 2 weeks before that was sewer scopes, I think. 2 weeks before that was structural stuff. And so I try and just answer questions like that. And then specifically for buyers on Saturday mornings, I do just 1 hour, 30 minutes to an hour, and answer questions, talk about what to expect from an inspection, answer questions about all the things that we talked about: radon, sewer scope, well, septic, all the different things, so that buyers can then have some idea what they're thinking about from as they go to look at houses. Even
Right.
they're like even if they're not ready to buy, they can just come on, ask questions: what happens on a home inspection, what should I expect, so that then as they go look at houses, they have a little greater sense of what maybe their responsibility is for understanding and knowing what goes on the inspection.
Right. That's very good. I didn't know that either. So now when I do my buyer presentations, I now know what to do because, first time home buyers just have no idea. And people, like you said, that are moving from out of town, sometimes
Mhm.
they don't know the area. So it's good to have that information. And when scheduling an inspection, I do see, and I think this is more since COVID, you're like a one stop shop. You can go on your site and schedule them all and not worry about going company to company to company. You'll do it all. Am I
Yep.
correct on that?
That is right. And
Yeah.
we added chimneys because we found that so many people were complaining about the chimney inspectors. Like they never felt comfortable with hiring a chimney inspector who would come out and then offer to do the repairs on top of like the conflict of interest that was there, whether
Right.
real or just perceived. And so what we wanted to do was add in this: we can do chimney inspections, and we can do them the way someone who is going to do the repairs will need to see the report so that they can give you a quote,
Okay.
but we can give you an objective view, and we're not trying to make money off of it from repairs. And that was something I kind of resisted doing for several years, but it's been very valuable for people because I mean, great training for my inspectors, but also for 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 agents who have been like, I don't know who to recommend. I've got 2 companies across the state and they're all booked. What do I do?
Right.
So home inspectors, we do not, it is against the law for home inspectors to repair anything on a house they've inspected within a year of inspecting it.
Okay.
And so none of my inspectors do any repairs ever on any houses except their own. Um, so part of it is there's no conflict of interest. It's also like termites, the WDI.
Right.
We are in that house for 3 hours. So we are seeing things that a termite inspector who comes in and is there for 20 minutes might not. Now,
Right.
you may not want me to see everything. And if you don't want me to see everything, then definitely don't have us do the termite. But, we're in the attic, we're in the crawl space, we're in there longer.
Right.
So you just get more information, and we're not trying to sell any other services. We just identified defects.
Right.
We just,
Very
that's
good.
what,
Well,
that may
for
be.
anyone who would like to get a hold of Rachel and her company, again, go ahead, Rachel, tell us how to get a hold of you.
Oh, thank you. So it's Lodestar Inspection Services, and it's lodestarinspections.com. A lodestar is a light that guides you home. So I chose that name because it resonated with me, and I couldn't use guiding light because there was too much drama. you know? So, so I did, so Lodestar it is, but a lot of people think I'm saying Lone Star and they're like I have a cold or something, but no, it's Lodestar, Lodestar inspections.com. And if you go there, you can message me from there, or you can just call or email me. And it's Rachel at lodestarinspections.com.
Oh, thank you so much, Rachel. You've given us some good information today, and I truly appreciate your time. And thank you very much. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you. You too. Have a great day,
Okay,
Joanie. Thanks for
take
having
care.
me.